What's coming this year? Number one, Russia will bomb our big cities because America has disarmed. Number two, Russia will invade and overrun Western and Eastern Europe at the same time that they bomb our cities. The invasion and conquest of Western Europe will fulfill Daniel 7, verse 8, about one horn, quote, coming up among, unquote, 10 horns. For when one nation invades many other nations, it is literally coming up among them. By making war against America and against Europe, Russia will gain power over basically the whole world, fulfilling Revelation 13, verse 7. Quote, the beast will make war against the saints, which means Christians, and will overcome them, gaining power over every nation, unquote. Number three, Russia will invade little Israel, fulfilling Ezekiel 38 and 39, Zechariah 14, and Isaiah 66. Number four, then Christ, the Messiah, will appear over Jerusalem. Actually, it's the Mount of Olives, Zechariah 14, verse 4. Number five, the Russian soldiers will go over to Christ's side like Saul of Tarsus switched sides. See the book of Acts, chapter 9, verse 3. This will fulfill the words in Ezekiel 38, verse 21, and Zechariah 14, verse 13, about the soldiers mutinying against the loyalists. Number six, Christ sends the soldiers, they are his soldiers now, back home to Russia to, quote, proclaim God's glory, unquote. Isaiah 66, verse 19. This is talking about the light of Christ, which they will have just witnessed at the second coming. Zechariah 14, verse 4. And verse 7. Number 7, revolution follows. Gorbachev, the Antichrist, will be overthrown. Hooray! For all will forsake him. He'll have all the missiles and tanks, etc., but nobody to carry out his orders. That's from Daniel 11, verse 45. Number 8, global conversion to Christianity will follow. That's Zechariah 14, verse 9. An endless, I emphasize endless, golden age will follow. This is the golden age called a new heaven and new earth. Isaiah 65, verse 17, and 66, verse 22, 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10 through 13, and finally, it's Revelation 20, through chapter 21, verse 1. For the millennium, in Revelation 20, is a veiled reference to the church age. My point is the millennium is followed by the new heaven and new earth, which means the church age is followed by the new heaven and new earth. Just like St. Augustine taught. The name of his book is The City of God. It's found in Book 20, chapter 8. For more info, contact me at joegracegrace@gmail.net or call me 434-315-4029. Now, let me add something to that. When will the Russian attack take place? It should be 2020 because the Russian attack brings an end to the church age. And so if it comes in 2020, let's say it began in 30 AD when Christ was crucified, and then there was the day of Pentecost. Now that would mean 19 decades. Well, we find that there are 119 decades. Well, there's 199 animals sacrificed at the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, Paul the Apostle says in Hebrews 10, verse 1, that the feast times in the law of Moses are prophetic of things to come. And it's also found in Colossians 2, verse 15 through 17. The law contains a shadow of things to come. And so we can look, okay, the law contains the feast times. So they can be the shadow of things to come. Now, the Feast of Tabernacles is what I'm focusing on. It is the feast where the most animals were sacrificed, 199. Now, one more reason for 2020, you start with 1950 instead of 1948 as the year of the return of Israel, because the return of Israel in 1948 was just Judah, the Jews. But when they reconciled, when they accepted, when the Supreme Court of Israel and the Knesset, they both accepted the Samaritans as full citizens, full Jews, equal to the Jews anyway, a sect of Judaism. The Samaritans are the remnant of the 10 northern tribes. And so that happened in 1950. And so that means the full nation came in 1950. And so that would be the starting point of the generation. And Christ said within one generation, all things would be fulfilled. And a generation is 70 years. That's Psalm 90, verse 10. And so we start with 1950, we add 70, we come up with 2020. Now, there's a third reason for 2020. Gorbachev is going to be 89 in 2020. Now, 1989 was his big year of creating the false peace, where the Berlin Wall fell and the Cold War was considered over, finished. And, of course, it took him till the end of 1991 to resign, which was another false act. It was another trick. But his big year was 89, so I feel that he will try to match 1989 with 89 as far as his age is concerned. And he try to, he doesn't want to be 90 when he launches his war, I believe. This is speculation on my part. But those are three reasons for 2020. And what time of year, what time of the year? Well, first of all, the tribulation, I should mention how long the tribulation will be. Regardless of when it begins, it'll be 5 months. And that's because Christ said in Revelation 3 and Revelation 21 and 22 that he would come quickly. I come quickly. I come quickly. And that means that from the time the tribulation starts till the time that he comes, well, it should be a short time so that he can say, I come quickly. Well, we'll fulfill that. And so 5 months would be short. If he comes after just 5 months, that would be coming quickly. And so that's why I say we throw out the 3.5 years, which is in Daniel 7, verse 24 or 25, and it's also in Revelation 13. We throw that out, and we go with the 5 months, which is Revelation 9, verse 5 and 10. Speculation is that Christ, the symbolism in the ritual, the second ritual at Yom Kippur, which is in Leviticus 16. The second ritual is where the high priest comes out of the Holy of Holies. That stands for Christ coming out of heaven. And he picks up a bowl of goat's blood. The goat's blood represents the congregation, which by extension represents the church. And the blood represents the life, which could mean the souls. So Christ collecting the souls that are departing the world at the time of the sudden destruction, and he carries them back to heaven, and that would fulfill the high priest carrying the bowl of goat's blood back into the Holy of Holies. And because that's the second ritual, it goes with the second feast. There's 3 feasts where all the males congregate at the temple. Passover and Pentecost is the second one. So the rapture would fit Pentecost. And then the second coming would fit the Feast of Tabernacles. That's the third feast. And that fits the third ritual, or the third part of the ritual on Yom Kippur. And now if it isn't exactly at Pentecost for the rapture, it'll come at the time of the Supreme Court legalizing gay marriage, which is June 26th, which is not long after Pentecost. And that way, that act, legalization of gay marriage, will be forever tainted. It will be tarred. It will be cursed. And so that will tell people that God is not happy with homosexuality. He's not happy with gay marriage. He wants the two sexes to, they're opposites. He wants them to be joined. And, okay. That's it. One more thing. The new heaven would include a new relationship between earth and heaven. We will colonize Mars. We will colonize, Europa, a moon around Jupiter, and then we will colonize the rest of the galaxy. It will take billions of years. And God could have made planets with life on them, but he left us the privilege of bringing life from Earth, the mother planet, to the galaxy, if not the whole universe. That's found in Romans 8, verse 18 through 24. It's also Psalms 8, verse 3 and verse 6. And it's in Ephesians chapter 3, verse 9 through 11. And chapter 4, verse 10 and 11. And wherever human civilization travels throughout outer space, and whatever generations, each generation of mankind, school children will learn the story of America being bombed because we disarmed, and that's fulfillment of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 9 through 11. We believe the lie that Russia had changed, had become better, had become democratic, and because we believe the lie, we disarmed, and then we perish. And because we were foolish enough to believe the lie that the Antichrist told.